Okay, great. Welcome. Connected core. I haven't recorded a connected core class in a long time. So this will be some good, fresh content. Start in the morning with some water and electrolytes. All right. Everybody find a spot on the ground where you can put your feet up on something. A couch, an ottoman, the wall, a chair. So scoot your butt close into something that you can put your feet up on. Okay. If you are pregnant and joining us, there's gonna probably need to be some modifications throughout this class. I'm teaching to an audience that is not pregnant right now, and we're gonna focus on low back and hips today, okay? So this is kind of a low back, deep core, hip specific sequence. I have a little heat pack on my low back right now, so it happens to all of us. Go ahead and put your feet up on something, either bent at 90-90 or legs can go straight up the wall. Since I'm recording, it's going to be kind of hard for me to demo too. Back is flat. I think in the recording, you can see what everybody else is doing. So we've got Monty up in the top corner. Her back is flat, her knees are bent, and they're resting up on an ottoman. That's perfect. Legs could be straight if they were resting up on a wall. And we're gonna go ahead and get into that quick body scan using our senses. This is something new if you've done my recordings before. New in the last couple of months, we've added in. So we're gonna use our 5 senses to help us connect with our breath and draw our attention inward and increase some of our what's called introspection. So the next 40-ish minutes is you having a conversation with your body. If that's all that you do here for the next 40 minutes is lay here and breathe and connect with your body, you have accomplished the goal, because that has to happen first before we have healing and more control over our core, pelvic floor, whatever you're here to rehab or work on today. So yes, movement is a conversation with your body. What is it trying to tell you? Okay. So close your eyes if you, well, don't close your eyes. We're going to start with sight. So let's go through our 5 senses. So what do you see? I want you to just, in your brain, rattle off 3 things that you see. The ceiling, a lamp, your dog next to you. What do you smell? Coffee, bacon. Sadly, nothing. What do you taste? Coffee, toothpaste, maybe nothing, maybe some electrolytes. What do you hear? My voice, maybe the hum of a fan. Hopefully nothing if you've got a house full of kiddos. It's a little, it's not too early. And our last sense, what do you feel? So this has 3 components to it. What do you feel? What are your clothes feeling like on your body? What do you feel your body being supported by? The texture of your mat or the texture of the carpet? What do you feel? Maybe you just put lotion on. What do you feel on your skin? What's happening outside of you feeling wise? Then come inward. What's happening inside of your body feeling wise? My low back is a little achy today. I feel like I'm holding some tension in my neck and upper back. What are you feeling in your tummy? Okay, and the third component to introspection, what are you feeling? So maybe perhaps these sensations, physical sensations in our body are connected to emotions that our heart is trying to express to us, perhaps. three components to what are you feeling. Go ahead and take a big giant breath in through your nose, exhale it out through your mouth. If you want to add in an arm stretch overhead while you inhale, and then exhale it all out. You can really be in any position to start. I'm just kind of bent up on my knees. So a couple more, three more big inhale through your nose, fill your belly up with air, and then sigh it out or exhale it out through your mouth. It can be with a word, with a hiss, with some sort of noise. Could be a yawn. One more, inhale and exhale. Good, really good. Okay, quick body scan time, a physical body scan time. So use your fingertips. I like to start up at the forehead if we're holding any stress or tension in the forehead, in the facial muscles, even going down to the jaw. That's going to be reflected in our pelvic floor. Good places to start. Give a little bit of massage in between the eyebrows. Give a little bit of massage and even some tapping right under the collarbone into the top part of your sternum, your breastbone. You can come back up and give your ears a nice little gentle pull. Swipe down the sides of your neck from your ears. I like to make a peace finger sign either side of my ear and swipe down towards my collarbone. If you're congested at all, this is really helpful. Good. Okay, coming back to collarbone, sternum, and we're going to make our way down to our bellies. Oh, I skipped the jaw. Open your mouth and stick your tongue out if you haven't yet. Do that with an exhale. Inhale. Exhale, stick your tongue out. Feel that stretch. Your tongue is a muscle and it connects all the way to your pelvic floor and then all the way down to your big toe. Give it a stretch, just see how tight it is this morning. Okay. At any point in time, if you want to throw in an inhale and an exhale where you open up your mouth, stick out your tongue, feels really good. Let's make our way to our bellies and do some big circles. So belly massage, palms, light touch in clockwise circles. If you are looking down at your belly, I'm going to come across. So I'm going from my right to my left, right underneath the ribs. And then from that left upper rib quadrant, I'm going down towards my pelvis. And then across to the right side, and then up. So this can be done in one big circle at a time, or it can be kind of compartmentalized or chopped up into pieces and just doing the across part first, the down, then the across and the up. If you happen to notice any places that are sore or tender, belly massage is not supposed to be deep tissue, so we're not staying there to dig in. We're just staying there to give a little bit more love to those spots, and then breathe in to those spots. When I say breathe into those spots, try to get your breath to fill up from the bottom of your pelvis up, filling our abdomen all the way around 360 degrees. So deep belly or diaphragmatic breathing. So for example, I've got some tenderness on my lower right quadrant. I'm going to kind of hold my fingers there, put a little bit of light pressure, and then I'm going to try to breathe low and down so that my breath actually moves that part of my body and it presses into my fingertips. So that's what I mean when I say breathe into it. Good. Awesome. Okay. Maybe scoot your butt back a little bit from the wall we're gonna go into, or whatever you're on, just give yourself a little bit more space. We're gonna go into some deep hip stretches to start. We're gonna do a cross pigeon. So one knee is gonna bend and your ankle is gonna come across and rest on top of your quad. Perfect. Yep, just like that. Okay. The other leg can stay straight or bent, whatever feels more comfortable. If you're up against a wall, it might be helpful to bend both knees and have one foot pressing into the wall. Looks good. So now with that leg crossed over, we're gonna do some measured breathing. So I want you to take 5 breaths in and out through your nose. Option to always add in an exhale, an expressive exhale. But we're trying to breathe down into that glute, that hip that's being stretched. If you want a little bit more and your arms can reach, you can press that knee that's bent and across back down towards the wall or the ground. I think everyone has done pigeon stretching before. 5 deep breaths on this side. In and out through your nose. This deep hip stretch or isolated hip stretch is going to force you to get that air really, really low. I'm doing an option where I'm seated and I've got that leg crossed over. You can also do this seated in a chair. I want you to just think about the goal here. The intention here is feeling that breath go low into the pelvis and into a muscle that might not be particularly happy at the moment. On your exhales, notice if that muscle can feel like it's surrendering a little bit. It's not that it's gonna magically stretch out and we're gonna have a ton of more range of motion. We're just trying to get it to surrender to gravity, to whatever you're holding on to. Okay, 5 breaths on one side. You guys are probably done. So go ahead and switch the legs. You need to shake them out a little bit first. Totally fine. Switch to the other side. I didn't tell you left or right, so you probably did your looser side first. Our brains work like that. I definitely did. So 5 nice big deep breaths here. In a modified pigeon. Nice stretch for the glutes and the piriformis. Awesome. We're going to slowly make our way out of that position on our backs once you're done with your 5. And you're going to meet me in a tabletop. Meet me in a tabletop for some nice, gentle cat cows, segmental cat cows. I look ridiculous with this like heat pack on my back. My husband this morning was like, so I get to trade you in for a newer model? Like, not quite. All right, gently, if you get into this tabletop position, if you feel like you need to sway your hips side to side, go ahead and do that. What are you feeling? Let's drop back into our senses. What are you feeling in your body right now? What sensations just bubbled up after we did a little hint of hip opening? What do you feel in your body? What do you see? What do you smell? What do you taste? What do you hear? Segmental cat-cows. Let's do 10. Think about moving from the crown of your head all the way to the tip of your tailbone. When you go down, gravity pulls your belly down. Just let it sink. A natural, easy arch. Our spine is designed to move through this full range of motion, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. We want it to have this big range of motion. We want it to be able to arch. And then when we arc up, press between the shoulder blades. If you've done these before, see if you can actively press all 10 fingers into the ground and the back of your ankles. So my feet are flat. I'm trying to press my shin and the whole back top of my foot into the ground while I arc. And then as I drop, I'm trying to maintain that contact of ankles with the ground. Maybe play around with that, see how that changes. I'm moving super slow this morning. You guys can move at a faster pace. We're gonna do 10 of these where we're just trying to really slowly arc, move between this arc and this arch. They may start real small and get bigger as we go. You should feel when we're in this I'm in the cow position, a stretch from the bottom of the chin all the way down the front side of the body. This might feel like a really good stretch in your core, in your abs. When you're in either of those positions, also totally fine to add in a little bit of a lateral shift to get into more of the sides of the rib cage and even into the sides of the hips, which we're only going to be getting into more. When you're done with those 10, we're going to move into some rock backs. So I know that you're done with the 10. Go ahead and rock back into a child's pose for me. Good. Okay, so a child's pose is a little bit farther than we're going to want to go for these rock backs. Starting from all fours, take a big belly breath in, and this time I want you to capture that air and tighten up your stomach so that air stays filled in your belly and you're pressurizing it like you just filled up a Coke can and sealed the lid. So it's hard. You're getting ready to get punched in the stomach. You're going to maintain that pressure and squeeze your shoulder blades or your armpits onto your back. So I've got my shoulders kind of in a neutral resting position. Now I'm going to squeeze my shoulders down. So like you're pinching something underneath your armpit, holding onto a piece of paper underneath your armpits. Those two squeezes, I've got my abs pushing out and I've got my armpits squeezing down. That's going to initiate this rock back of my hips. I'm only going to go as far as I can until I feel like I'm going to lose that piece of paper underneath my armpits. Does that make sense? Okay. So when we rock back, you should feel our back muscles right underneath the armpits and our core muscles working to pull us back. As I'm rocking back, I'm starting out kind of looking just in front of my fingertips. As I'm rocking back, I'm maybe starting to look a little bit farther out in front of me, keeping the space between my ears and my shoulders. We're going to do about 20 of these total. Maybe trying to go a little bit farther each time. Bring my butt towards my heels. Notice the more you squeeze here, and the more you capture that big breath and pressurize your core, the farther back I can sit. Trying to keep a neutral spine. So you may notice at the end of this range of motion, when you're sitting back on your, or sitting back towards your heels, if you feel your pelvis start to tip backwards or your tail tucking, that just means you've hit your end range of motion. We don't need to push it any farther. So we're gonna be doing these rock backs in 3 different positions today. These are great for the hips and the low back and deep core, because we're also integrating in the lats, back muscles. So right now we're starting out, our knees are about right underneath our shoulders, maybe just outside. The next position that we're gonna do these in is with a wide knee stance. Almost like a frog, if you're familiar. Maybe not quite as wide as a frog. So I'm gonna walk my knees just straight out from where they were. My feet can stay in towards each other, almost big toes together, or they can come to no farther than a 90-degree angle, okay? So somewhere about that 45-degree angle is great. And then we're going to move into our rock backs here. So real important, big breath in. Squeeze that piece of paper. I've got a way shorter range of motion here, so I'm only rocking back a little bit. If you feel yourself too, when you rock back, shifting to one side or the other, try to coax your body back to midline to be symmetrical. This should be more of an intense stretch for the inner thighs. We're adding some gentle movement here. Okay. Our last position, feel free to take a break and shake things out. Our last position on these rock backs is going to be, well, kind of 2 parts. We're going to do the lateral kickstand. So one leg is going to be out to the side at a time. I'm going to start from my all fours. And I'm going to take my left leg out to the side first. The side or a 45-degree angle behind me. So if I was a clock, 9 o'clock is a little ambitious for me right now. 8 o'clock feels a lot better. 7 o'clock feels a little bit too easy. Okay, so I'm right at about 8, 8:30. I've got that leg out. I can have my foot, kind of knife edged. Inside edge of my foot is down on the ground, or I can turn it to increase the stretch. My whole foot is flat. Okay, up to you. Maybe try the first 5 one way and the second 5 another way. We're going to do 10 rock backs. A big belly breath in, squeeze your shoulders down your rib cage, and then rock it back. Totally fine if you need to reset after each one. I lost my breath and I lost my shoulder squeeze. Your abs are pulling you back. Your abs are doing the contracting and your shoulders are squeezing, and that's what's pulling your hips back towards your butt. Good. We're doing about 10 on one side. Slowly take it back to the middle. Anytime I give you a number, it's just a suggestion. If your body says, yeah, I'm good with about 5, that's the whole point. Listen to your body. These are just suggestions. So I'm switching to my other side. I've got my right foot out now. So if I was a clock, 12 o'clock being my head, 3 o'clock is a little bit more accessible on this side for me, but I'm still gonna kind of take it back to like 3:30, 4 o'clock. The more you squeeze your shoulders down and the more you pressurize your core with breath, the farther you will be able to send your hips back and you'll be able to feel more of a stretch in your inner thigh. And that's what we want. We want to focus on movements that incorporate a stretch and also a strengthen simultaneously, because that's how we remind our brain of proper movement patterns. Because it's not black and white. It's not just about stretching something or strengthening something. There's always a component of both. And this breath combined with stretch, strengthen movements or exercises is a great way to remind your nervous system that it is safe and that one, it can heal. And then 2, that it can move on and do new, great, amazing things. If you feel like you want to hang out at the bottom of this or at the end of this, and really breathe into that inner thigh, pelvic floor, do it. We're getting into some deep pelvic floor stuff here. So if you feel like the need to exhale with a tongue stretch, great time to do that too. Awesome. Okay. We are going to come back to that frog position stretch in a minute, but we're going to first flip it back over onto our backs. Okay. So come on into a seat, actually. We did these last week and I think they were a hit. Some reverse bridges. We're gonna add a little bit of that pigeon stretch in here as well. So I'm on my bottom, my knees are bent, my arms are straight. Options for hand placement here. You can play around with fingertips pointing towards your bottom, or fingertips pointing straight out towards the sides, or they can even be pointed straight back towards the other wall. All 3 of these positions are going to feel different based on what your shoulders are doing. If you don't know which one you want or how they feel, start with fingertips pointing out towards the side. You're going to take a big breath in and lift your hips up towards the ceiling, tip your head back. Feel that stretch in the upper body and this squeeze with the glutes, and slowly lower back down. We're just going to warm this up with 5 of these, nice and slow. So I'm starting out by looking at my knees. I take a big belly breath in. And then I lift up and look back if I can. If you can only look up to the ceiling, that's fine. But if you can get your head to hang and look back behind you, that's amazing. Slowly lower down to the ground. Okay. Maybe start to play around with those hand positionings. What feels the best? What feels like the most stretch? Change up where my hands are, or where my fingertips are pointed, really. If you're getting any sort of tingly sensation in the arms, shake them out. Make sure your shoulders are down away from your ears. On our last one, on our fifth one, you're going to take a leg, pick a leg, cross it over, and then sit your bottom back down to the ground. Well, mine are really tight today. Okay, so we're not staying up there. So we're going to try to lift first, then see if we can cross, and then slowly start to lower down to the ground. Ooh. Might need to change up the arm positioning here. Okay. Let's see how we're doing. If your hips are really, really tight, you may not be able to get your booty back all the way down to the ground. So mine right now, I can cross. I feel a stretch. I should feel more. I'm hovering above the ground. I don't think I could get there without, notice what's happening at my shoulders. I don't want my shoulders to be my earrings. I want to keep space here. So my butt is hovering. This isn't really sustainable for my arms. So I'm going to slowly lower, and I'm going to come down to my elbows. Okay. So here's the option. If your shoulders are tight or hips are super tight, preventing you from being straight arm with this pigeon stretch, we can go down to the elbows. It's just helpful. It's helpful to hike the hips up and then get that cross and then sink into it. Okay. That's where I'm at today with this tight hip. Okay. And we're going to play around with alternating through both sides. Okay. So give me a few more on each side. If you've got one that's significantly tighter, maybe do all of them on that side. But I want you to lift up and then cross and then come back down. And if coming back down means I need to come all the way to my elbows, that's totally fine. I'm going to come in and out of these really dynamic pigeon stretches. Okay, I got a little bit farther that time. The more you breathe, the more your body will grant you more range of motion. And again, play around with the hands, the fingertips. On your tight side, maybe play around with the fingertips and see if that changes anything. When you've done a few more of these on each side, meet me in a cross leg position. So if I were sitting crisscross applesauce, I'm going to take that front ankle that's tucked underneath my shin and just move it out so it's in front of my knee. So I've got it more at a 90-degree angle. And then we are going to just forward fold here. So we're going to start from the crown of the head, tuck the chin down, slowly start to lower one vertebrae at a time. Let gravity sink your spine down. You're going to come and lean forward a little bit. Elbows on knees. Maybe even elbows on floor. If you've got some really good spinal flexion here, I want you to breathe into your belly and feel your spine surrender to gravity. This stretch may be felt all the way down into that. I've got my right leg out in front, maybe all the way down into that right glute. Slowly, one vertebrae at a time, come out of this. Chin moves last. And switch the legs. So if you had your right one in front, switch so you get the left one in front. Start by sitting tall, big inhale. Exhale. Start to drop the crown of the head. Let your spine start to roll and relax against gravity. Feel a stretch in the back of the neck, middle of the shoulder blades, low back. And if you can lean forward enough, you'll feel it in that hip. Good. Slowly roll back up. Beautiful. I've got my left leg in front, so I'm going to take my right arm and reach across. My left hand is going to kind of kickstand behind me, and I'm going to take a nice, really gentle twist. Inhaling, exhaling, maybe trying to twist and open up a little bit more. Three breaths here. Slowly coming back to the middle. I'm gonna switch the legs. So my right one is back out in front. My left hand is crossing over, grabbing that knee. My right hand kickstands behind me. Big belly breath in. As it empties, I let that emptiness twist out like you're wringing out a towel. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Slowly unring that towel, come back to the midline. And I told you we were gonna do frog one more time. So come back to all fours. So starting in an all fours child's pose type position. Knees wide. Legs, bottom of your legs no farther out than 90 degrees. So I can be inside of 90, at 90. I don't want to be outside of 90. Does that make sense? That's too much. There we go. Good. See if you can drop down to your elbows. If not, hands supported up is totally fine. This is a deep stretch for your pelvic floor. Inhale through your nose. Nobody can see you. Out through your mouth. Open up your mouth. Stretch out your tongue. Exhale it all out. We're going to use 3 of these big ones together. Stretch your tongue, see if you can get a little bit farther. One more. Awesome. You can stay here, or you can slowly make your way out of this frog position. We are out of time. Thank you for joining me. This was hips, deep core, pelvic floor, low back centered. I'm just going to stop the recording.